He's downstairs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I thought he saw me, but he didn't. Oh, he's asking where we are. I saw him come. I thought that he saw.
Actually, with Marek, we are very old friends. We from the same city. We went to the same
Musical school. Yeah.
And then we lived together in one flat.
Hello.
We always played many times together.
Yeah, we also played in the string quartet together
Exactly.
for a while. Yeah.
Went to Amadeus.
Hi, I'm Marek.
Marek, viola player. Mikrofony są włączone, sprawdzaliście? Raz, dwa, trzy. Okay. We have to speak. Dobrze. Oh, hello everybody. We are here during the NeoArte Syntezator of Arts Festival in Gdańsk, Galeria Pionowa, Café Luis. We'll start now a discussion panel with our fantastic guests, Clemens Marko, Isabel Bozzini from Bozzini Quartet, and Marek Czech from viola player from Music Academy of Warsaw. The title of today's discussion panel is self-management. We would like to speak a bit about some management things which are connected with quartets, with chamber ensembles, and as I know, Bozzini Quartet is an example of that kind of quartet, which is managed by members, of course, with the help of agencies, probably. I hope you will speak about it a little bit. And so maybe let's start with some questions to Quartet Bozzini. And what I'm curious, and I'm sure that our audience also will be curious about it. How did you start? What was the beginning of the quartet? How was it at the beginning when you started to play?
Okay. So actually, I had a quartet with my sister, who's a violist in the so such as you had, and we did quite a bit of new music. We were very curious, so we had to have sort of made a deal. We're doing half normal, traditional repertoire, and we will do new pieces. We were at the university where the Nouvelle Ensemble in Montreal was, which was at that time the hot ensemble in the 90s in Montreal. And then this guy came to Montreal. He was invited for the foundation of another ensemble Corps, that was active for about 10 years, doing actually quite hardcore repertoire and bringing a new style in Montreal. And they had invited Clemens and also Anton Lukasevich from London to give. Well, please, Tebla, I think. Anyways, and we met in that hall, and Clemens ended up staying, and we decided that at some point somebody wanted to do just chamber orchestra, traditional repertoire, and Clemens joined the group after a few years. So this is
just to say
history. That's not how it was in the beginning. You go.
Just
Sorry.
to say how many coincidences and funny moves it sometimes needs to get a string quartet, because I was contemporary music but never string quartet. I had a rather bad experience as an adolescent, and I swore to myself I will never play string quartet again. And then when I stayed in Montreal, and it turned out I needed money. So that's the worst reason to play string quartet, because I traveled between Europe and Montreal, and after a year and a half, all your gigs in Montreal kind of and in Europe fall apart. So yeah, then I played string quartet. but it turned out well.
Okay, but the question, how did you start? Was more connected? Was more connected to? Was more connected to the beginning of your like a career? I mean, how was it at the beginning? Did you play a lot of concerts? How did you start?
So yeah, so then when it became from the student quartet to Bozzini quartet, and we were quite ambitious at the time, and started to book our own concerts. And you were talking about agencies before. We actually have not really worked with agencies. We started booking our own things and choosing our repertoire. And of course, it was clear quite from the beginning that already we wanted to go for new music. And Clemens had a lot of experience already and some contacts in Europe, and so it was pretty. Our first season was already like very busy with 30 concerts, and then we realized, it was the first 2021.
Anyways, you can look this up on our webpage because our webpage is rather detailed, going back to the very beginnings. Then you also can see the curve, how it started, what repertoire we played. It's all on there. I think what was new for Montreal at that point is that we played a repertoire which no one else played, and this is of course one big thing. We played pieces which were deemed unplayable. We played pieces other quartets had refused to play. We played Wolfgang Riem in Montreal. Nobody had played Wolfgang Riem before. Things like this. And then, of course, at that time there was still Radio Canada was still alive. So they helped us. A lot of the composers, the professors at the universities kind of were attracted that we did this work. And so there were contacts. And then I activated my contacts in Europe, which I had from before. So very early on we went on our first tours to Europe, because I had realized probably more intuitively at that time that Canada is not what you call a market if you talk in business terms. It's a huge country with like 5 cities, and if you fly from Montreal to Vancouver, it's 5 hours flight, so it's almost as long as flying to Europe. So, but so a lot of our business is from the very beginning was in Europe. So we just kept coming, and then you build a career, and maybe sometimes I think we're more better known in Europe than in Canada, but I'm not sure. No, I don't know. But we have never worked with agents in the end. We'd had one try with an agent around 2010 or so, or 8, I don't know, and it was a bit of a disaster, so we stopped that. We stopped that quickly. We have one person now since 5 years, about 6 years, helping us specifically in the UK. But it's not classic agent work. It's more someone who connects us with people, and then we do the follow-up. Yeah.
Okay. So actually, you started like booking concerts by your own, without any people between concert organizer and no. I know that kind of strategy. Let's say from our work with NeoQuartet, because probably contemporary music world is a little bit different, because probably we don't need such a lot of help from people as agents. But you said that you have kind of persons that connects you. So what do you think? Is it the most important thing to have like some connections?
Yes, I would say so. It's I mean, it's because it's a bit of a different business. Very early on, you talk to our artistic director. They want to actually discuss the repertoire, and there are specialized agents, of course, for new music, but not so many. And the moment you have to go into this conversation, they can't really help you. And it's also, especially as a young ensemble, any agency has a hard time you're a young ensemble and you play new music. who am I going to sell that for? Yeah, so it's always I think it's different in the States, for example. Most people work with an agent, and it's also within the States. And we've been told when you want to go and do a lot of work there, you need it. But in Canada, early on, we also asked one agent. We were talking to him, and then he said, "Do you have the gigs you want?" And he said, "Well, I guess so." And said, "Well, then you don't need an agent." So it's always. But the discussions on repertoire, talking directly, talking with composers, of course, and working closely with if you have a connection to somebody who has already, when we met Alvin Lucier in Ostrava, that was a very important and defining moment, and then we kept a relationship with him, and that's of course super precious. And Clemens knew Christian Wolff for a long time, so.
But the sentence that you only need an agent if you don't get the concerts you want. So if you get the concerts you want, you don't need an agent. And that's very important, because if you say, okay, I want to play in Carnegie Hall, I'm in a Berlin Phil and this and that, you don't get there by yourself. You need an agent. But if this is not the type of career you want to do, then you might not need an agent. So it was actually a very good advice. And now specifically Jackie in England helps us to talk to certain festivals and organizers where it's very hard to get access to. But the overwhelming majority around in Europe, the specialized contemporary music festivals, the series, they want to talk to the artist and not to an agent. That's what they always tell us. So, but it's a lot of work.
We would like to later speak with Marek about more about his experiences, but before that, I would like to ask you, because we have like some kind of time to for our conversation, and you said that it's a lot of work. So I can imagine, because probably we do some of the same stuff together with NeoQuartet, but talking about organizational stuff. But how is it in your quartet? Do you divide the organizational stuff between members, or how does it look? Is it kind of a natural situation that somebody who is better in something is doing something, or different?
It's actually, I think it's key to success, because when you practice for yourself, you organize the music for yourself. When you rehearse, you organize it for the group. And the same thing you have to do on everything which is not the music, which is everything around. You have to organize it, but you also have to organize how to organize it. So in our case, every member of the quartet has rather specific tasks. I mean, certain things overlap. And then we have employees. Early on we went also fairly digital, so everything, nobody has stuff on their private computers. It's all on a centralized server to which we have access all the time from outside. Every document, we have a very strict rules how every document is named, every score, everything. Every grant application, etc., has specific ways of how it's named, so everybody can find it. And we're very strict about that.
Yeah, I mean it's a evolution, but it was quickly happening that we felt there's piles of parts and there's piles of grants and this and that, and we actually asked somebody who was a secretary person, and she showed us how to plan the things and how you actually organize it and how you do your in the library physically, but also digitally. And in the beginning, we actually tried, to share the project. So you're responsible for this project, and you for that, and you for that. And that one went for maybe 2 years, but we realized pretty quickly that some people are better at preparing the grant, and other people are better at getting the music together, and other people are like to write a text. And to do everything with each project, you would have to develop all of the different skills, and it was much better to actually focus. So we have shared in this way, but in the beginning we worked mostly, and we did also a lot of other gigs before we could live as a quartet. And then now the last 15 years, it's four members working really quite full time, and also we have been able to start with 1 employee, and now at the moment we have 2 almost full time and a couple of part-time people. So
Sounds great. You know, I thought that we are quite good organized. So thank you. Thank you for that, you know, because no, you know, because it's a long discussion also in our quartet how to organize everything. So we have different phases in our playing together and organizing everything, and probably that's unfinished discussion. Because we are kind of still need to think and kind of a reflection about how does it look now and how we can work together in like 2 years probably, you know, in advance, something like that.
It's one of the great things about quartet, but also one of the curses that any discussion, is it about music or organization, will be eternal. It's never finished. So this is in a way great because it keeps you really alive, but of course it also never finishes.
Marek, from your perspective as a player of string quartet, because I have to tell you that when we were starting with our quartet, Marek's quartet was kind of a great inspiration for our quartet to play together, to organize everything. And Marek was a person that I was asking him all the time, what did you do with that, and he told me everything. So thank you, thank you for. And once also before we had an idea to organize a festival, even it was before the idea in our minds. They had a festival, and because I remember that one of probably it was somebody from the government, the ex-minister of culture. Yeah. They said to him, "We don't have concerts. What to do? Start to organize." Was that answer? So that's the same. So tell us, how was it at the beginning?
The beginning was the string quartet was the one of the subject at our Academy of Music. That's how it started, and of course we are focused on playing together. And we also, after our regular studies in the Warsaw Academy of Music, we joined the Cologne Hochschule for Music for a class with Alban Berg Quartet, and we finished this scheme for string quartet playing there. We joined several master classes with Amadeus and other famous groups, and it was our idea for living to play the string quartet. But of course the beginning was very hard. Even after a few competitions there were no engagements. So I remember we played a special concert for Queen Elizabeth. It was organized by Polish government, and after this tour we flew back to Warsaw with this time Ministry of Culture, and he said, "It was a great performance, thank you very much. What is your dream?" And we said, "Our dream is to organize our own festival in Warsaw." And it started like this, and we started many years ago, and of course the beginning was very hard, but from ideas till the concerts, and from one festival till another, it was easier and easier, and we just made it for many years, and it was great experience. And I'm glad to hear now Paweł is speaking. I was the person who was asking his questions, but now when I'm seeing how they are organized, their things, I'm really proud.
Thank you. So, okay, what do you think? Because we can speak about organizing stuff like booking concerts and so on, which is connected with some relationships with composers, organizers, and so on. Do you agree that that actually everything is connected with like friendships or kind of friendship. I mean, you are not a friend with everybody. That's obvious. But I mean that's really nice business, in my opinion, that we have opportunity to speak and to meet people all around the world. And is it also your opinion that this is kind of a crucial thing, the relationships?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. It's to build a lasting career and also a pleasurable career. You want to work with people who inspire you. So, you know, as young people, you study together, or then you ask each other questions. And working with composers for me is always interesting and fascinating. And then you also decide there's clearly some composers who are good for your group and you're good for them, and sometimes it's not so much the case, and then it also normally naturally goes to different things. But there's so much to do and so much music to do. But taking care of the relationships, that's, yeah, I do think that's the key. It's to both develop satisfying long lasting career development, and at the same time also to enjoy it, doing it as it's happening. I don't know, Clemens, if
Yeah, I mean, there is always a competition, that's clear. But I feel not so much competition with other quartets, because in contemporary music we tend to do really specific things, and we have our specific sets of composers which we work with, or styles. It's more that we are competing in a big market which is very saturated. And one cannot forget that even in contemporary music, even in experimental music, it is still a business, if you want or not, and there's more people, there's more offer than what they can take. So your only chance is that you are really good, you work really hard, and you offer something which nobody else offers. And I mean, some people don't like, or musicians don't like, when to talk too much in business terms, but I think it's important to do that, because there's this weird thing that in the end we need to get paid. So if we don't talk about it, we will not get paid. Yeah, and if we don't get paid, it's okay, but then we have to make our living from something else. So it's kind of a circle, and I think it's important to talk about those things, that even in experimental and avant-garde music, money is involved, and so we need to talk about it. But the key thing, there's a couple of key things for me. That one of them is that you have something which either nobody or almost nobody does, and often this is long-term relationships. In our case, it is Jörg Frey, one of them. When we started playing him in 2001 as a quartet, nobody else played that. Yeah, in a special circle of friends of Wandelweiser, but they didn't play the quartets. I knew Jörg since '93 when I played solo things and other chamber music. And then through us and other groups who kept playing him, he became some kind of a experimental music superstar in the last 10 years. And so we harvest in a way now what we were seeding over 20 years ago. And of course you cannot always foresee that, but, and again it's business terms, but you have to invest. You have to invest in people you believe in, you think they're great. Maybe 1 out of 3 or 4 will really kind of make it. Even the others are not lost, because you still have good friendships. Yeah, you maybe just don't have the same return in many concerts, but artistically that's really important. And we have several of those long friendships which are nourishing to the quartet.
Yeah, absolutely. Composers from different generations as well, and I mean, Jörg is a good example because we really liked him as a person, like the whole atmosphere around the Wandelweisers, and we thought at the time when we started this, oh, we love this and we would like to play just this, but maybe then we would only be 5 concerts a year quartet, because we couldn't imagine where we could sell this. That was absolutely impossible at the time, and it has become something that, you know, the CDs we have made, they have gone around the world, and we have funny stories of, you know, kinds of people talking to us, oh, this great music and this and that. And we're like, oh, it's our recording from 20 years ago or something like this. Okay, young. So, yeah, but it's, to me, that's sort of, I was talking about these relationships and this friendship and enjoying it. That's part of what also comes long term, but without forgetting the business aspect. I suppose we're talking also to younger ensembles and musicians and composers, and to foster your relationships, but also think about it in okay, how do I do in 5 years that it is sustainable, and how do you manage to free the time for your quartet? This is an issue with people playing in the different ensembles, and it was for us for a long time, and we have been lucky to fall in a moment where we could actually decide to go full time. But it's really always an effort in that sense.
That's true. That's true. I wanted to ask you also about how do you use, because probably everybody, especially in contemporary music world, use some fundings. You know, in your situation, Canadian or European, I don't know exactly what do you use, or German. But I have to say that in our work, I mean, NeoQuartet is kind of an important thing, applying for some funds, organizing projects, and so on. My thought before was that actually to organize something you need a budget. Actually, yeah. So how does it look in your quartet?
Well, I think it's crucial for any ensemble of any kind to study actually the possibilities you have for grants. What's the structure? Where does the money come from? Where does it go? Does it go to presenters or does it go to players? What do they fund? What do they not fund? If you don't know that, so you have to love your playing, but you also need a certain love for this type of work. It's office work. And that's where the agents come in, or other people, like either you do it yourself or you have to pay someone to do it. Usually it's better when you do it yourself because you know better what you do and you know better what you like. So you have to analyze the structure in the place, in the country where you are, on all levels, municipal, provincial, federal. What are the possibilities? And then on top of it, what are possibilities for private funding, donation, and this and that. And of course, not everything is in reach right away, but you have to develop. You have to learn how to make budgets, and then this is where we figured out that Isabel is way better than anybody else in the quartet doing that. Like brain, yeah, it's a curse. Her brain for numbers is just way better. And then we're also starting to talk about strategy, because you put yourself goals for, in 5 years we want to be there. If you reach it or not is a different question. The important is that you put your goal. And then, I mean, there's a history of 5-year plans, right? In politics also. And I don't think they ever reach their goals. And it's the same for us. After 3 years, you say, oh, we made progress, but it's not, so we adjust. But you have to put yourself goals, not just artistically, but also how much money do you want to make per year with it, or how many pieces do you want to play per year or not, how many commissions do you want to do, and you have to agree on those things. If you don't, the group will not blossom. Because if 2 members love to tour and one other member has 3 dogs and 5 cats and has to stay home, it doesn't work. Or doesn't want to tour, or doesn't like flying, or I don't know, can't sleep in hotels. So you have to find agreements within the group on all these things. And so in our case, it turned out she. I mean, I'm saying numbers, but it's really has become strategy. I'm still the one for the booking of concerts and international network. Alyssa started out as library, and she still does that, but she does a lot of production things, specifically in Montreal, because we organize a lot of concerts and workshops. And Stephanie does all the publicity promotion. Whenever you see Facebook or any other social media, that's Stephanie. Info letter and website. We don't do this website ourselves, but we need to feed it, and that's all Stephanie. So.
Well, that was again on how we share the work, but about funding. I think it's a never-ending pit, honestly, and you do have to study it and figure it out. And it's always, to us, was clear early on. For example, we talk about the Frey. How are we going to sell those concerts? It's also how are we going to tell the Arts Council that they should give us money so we can work on this music. It's all related, and you have to figure out in which program are you fitting the best, and how do you talk to them to convince them. And we have realized over the years that you actually have an influence on how the arts councils are going. If you are talking to them and they see you're serious and you work well and you do what you said you would do, then they listen to you. And if you say, well, you should encourage more this, and we need this for the young composers because they don't have enough opportunities, then normally they will say not yes and give you anything you ask, but they will take you serious and support it. So this is how, and then composers, well, it's all over the world. So in another country, can I apply to their council for? So in some countries you can, in some you can't, but then there's maybe other private foundations, and that's sort of the endless corner, and I don't think we've explored even the half of it, of how much programs you can apply for, but yeah.
For instance, if NeoQuartet wants to commission a Canadian composer, you can apply to the Canada Council for the Arts as a Polish ensemble.
Yeah, you can apply for a commission, and you can apply for a tour even, so.
Good to know. Okay, saved in my mind. Okay, I know that it's good to be an expert in fundings, because it's crucial for our activities and crucial for composers' activities and other ensembles. So it's good to know, to tell, like as you said, to me, that we can apply for Canadian funds. I would like to ask you, Marek, about your experiences with students, because you're a professor at the Academy of Music in Warsaw. And how do you see it? And, are they focused a little bit on developing our careers, or are they thinking about it? Do you speak about it?
Now it's changed, because comparing to our time when we were students in the academy, actually today it's a University of Music. It changed directly. Today they have more subjects about business, and they are just learning how to apply for funds, for grants. I think it's important because the scientists, they are looking for grants to create their projects, and we as musicians, we are a part of this world, so we need to do the same. And today the students, I think they have this opportunity to organize themselves, and also to apply it for money, to organize as a society, and to organize concerts and other workshops and projects. So at the university they have subjects about how to organize, how to apply for funds. They have also workshops about it. So I hope this generation will be prepared for this better than we were.
Yeah, but no, we could be more competitive. Then yeah, okay. So I would like to also ask you about the strategy, because I know something about it, and we are trying to apply in our quartet that kind of thinking. You said that you are planning like 2 years in advance, 5 years, like discussing about it, as I understood. And I agree that it's good to have some plans with kind of a direction when we are going, and not to be like, like a river trying to find a way, but there's no way, for example. But it's good to think about like the planets like Saturn, you know, and finally probably you will not reach that planet, but you will be between the stars. So it's probably all.
Right direction.
Yeah. Yes, but how is it with your quartet? Do you have like do you have like a conversation about it, or is somehow in between your activities, the strategies created?
I'd say it's a bit of both, but we do try to have sometimes, not often enough, but actually focus one meeting for 2 or 3 hours, just really thinking what we want to do in the next few years. I mean, oftentimes you get up into the details of the productions that are coming up, but we try to actually have this overview, and that was from the beginning. And we said we didn't work with agencies, but actually we work with different people and then consultants and somebody coming more from business. And we have often asked, and we were told this thing like that was 2002, so the quartet has been 2 or 3 years old, and we were said you should sit down and think about it, where you want to be, and then and we had 2 days with this person who had a list of questions and asking us all kinds of things. And then it was, how many tours do you want to do? How many concerts per year? How much money would you like to have? And which music do you want to play? And then you have to figure out how does that come together. So if you really want to choose your music, then you might have to accept that you might make less concerts and obviously less money as well. But for us was sort of clear we wanted to tour, so everybody wanted to tour, but we from the start said, but we don't want to do 150 concerts and be always on the road. We want to also be home, and it was always the question also, it's 3 women and 1 guy, and families or plans for families at the time. So yeah, so it goes sort of by steps, and then you develop it, and at some point we also realized early on that if we play a piece that even only one person doesn't really like, rehearsals are going terrible, the piece doesn't sound good, and most of the time we were lucky. We sort of, this is the same repertoire we don't like together, but in the beginning you want to make it good, and you want to work with this composer and this and that, and then we realized no, this music is not good for us, and we also are not good for this music, so let's play something else. Yeah, so that's also an important point, but that doesn't happen right away, but this develops. But
It's important what Isabel said, and it's true we didn't really have agents, but we had a lot of, today you would say consultants, people advice from outside, musical, but specifically also in terms of organization and strategy, and we still have that today. Like Isabel, before the big grant applications come up, the really big ones, like she has sessions with one of her gurus where they really talk through the strategy for the grant, several hours or several times, and the consultants. Sometimes I always think they get paid too much, but it's sometimes you can't even apply for money to pay consultants.
well, that part is actually worth it, because it's also, I mean, we talked about being au courant, knowing about the different grants that you can apply for, but on top of it, they also do the same thing every 5 years, new strategic plan in this arts council, and you have to adjust, and You have to follow the rules. That's the point. But like, do you adjust and change all your program because they go into a different direction? Of course not. You have to do what your line is, but you have to figure out how to fit your line in the new line. So that's so to speak. So that's yeah.
And also with now more than 20 years on our back, when new things come out, we have contacts in the councils. Like we sometimes can say, well, actually this thing is really strange. It doesn't really work well. It's not that they change it right away, but they listen. Like several times we found that things we kind of pointed out would be considered. I mean, that's all a bit of politics, but it's also going against kind of going against councils is it never pays in the long run.
I think this is important because even when you have established position as a musician, as an artist, you need to follow those new rules, which are sometimes from 5 years, till 5 years different. And also we are also living in the changing world, and we also need to follow those new ideas. And just even today, the AI is changing everything, and we will see what will happen in next 5 years with music, because it's just existing.
Okay. Probably we have to finish our conversation, but unfortunately, because it's so interesting, and we could speak probably our next hour about everything. But like to give something special to our audience. The last final question, maybe you can answer in a few sentences. What would you advise to a young ensemble, like starting from nothing, for example?
Do something which no one else does. Think about where you want to be in 5 years. Give yourself a name which you never have to explain and never have to spell. As a group, it has to be self-explanatory. Like Neo is great, Bozzini is great. I don't tell you how her quartet was named before, but I insisted on a name change. Learn Excel by doing it. So as much as your scales and Sevchik, etc., Excel is important. Look up what legal structure you can have. If you are a non-profit organization, you can have a registered non-profit. You can have lots of software for either almost free or for very little. For instance, Office 365. As a non-profit, you can get that for like $5 per month per user, which is nothing, which gives you all applications included. Like things like this can really make huge differences. And for the rest, you have to practice a lot, rehearse a lot, and be diligent and don't give up.
And I think the important thing is also for young musicians, don't be afraid of music, because every composer was during his period of time a contemporary composer, and even now when we are listening Bartók or Penderecki, which sounds almost classical, let's say, during when they were composed those pieces, it was sometimes not easy to understand even for musicians. So even today, don't be afraid. Open your mind and try as many you can things, and don't focus only on one way. Because if you will, when you will choose few different stylistics, you will find your own.
I agree with this very much, Marek, and what Clemens has said. I think even in a shorter sentence, I guess for now, be curious and listen to a lot of music, go to concerts, meet composers, talk to composers, and foster your relationships. I think that's, yeah.
And be patient. Okay. Yeah, the others, exactly. So thank you very much. Thank you, Clemens. Thank you, Isabel. Thank you, Marek. I hope we'll have also a nice conversation for you. Thank you very much.